Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. This one is focused on King Groot and my continuing adventure through Variant 2. So if you're not familiar with this series, basically it's my slow progression through this, and I'm trying to do this in such a way that I get to utilize those old XL champions. Yes, you can use heavy attack methods, and there's different methods to use them, which do not incorporate a lot of the XL champions, which is a bit disappointing because it's all about utilizing them, because it's all about complementing XL champions, plus for some very specific buffs that do get given to those that are, again, let me repeat that, XL champions. By the time this video comes out, I've probably done the completion, and there is a method to the madness of what I'm doing. Over the weekend of the 27th of April, I'm going to be doing an opening which is featuring some, well, featured crystals, and also those rank up gems can be quite helpful. Also boosting some of those older champions from the 2015 variety, which is going to be great, and I'm going to be really excited for that. So I'd rather get the completion done first and then decide to then do the opening, so then that can benefit some of that. Yes, again, method to the madness. Plus, I need the 5-star basic from there just to increase the amount of 5 stars we open in that video. I'm sure a lot of you actually get the gist of what I'm actually up to, so thanks. But the focus of today's video is King Groot. As you know, I'm a big fan of King Groot, and it's amazing to see not only benefit for those XL champions, but also specific type vulnerabilities as well as buffs that are going to benefit this particular champion. Fortunately, King Groot is not going to be completely viable for all paths. This path down here, which features Domino and the poison path, is going to be a bit of a frustration because King Groot gets poisoned. Yes, the big bitter wood gets poisoned, which is annoying. Let's assume that that poison is some sort of, I don't know, fungus of some kind, which rots away. Whatever, use your imagination. The fact is, that's one path that is not advised to take. So what makes King Groot so viable for this? Well, it's not always about King Groot. There is the standard Groot. I just absolutely love the 6-star and 4-star version because they do so much damage for me, especially considering there's vulnerabilities as well as boosts to these champions. So let's deep dive this. Okay, so first off, there are 2 lanes which benefit from poison vulnerability, or you benefit from poison vulnerability. Basically, if you're a champion that outputs poison, then this is going to put a negative effect. Also, it's better with King Groot when you tap into the global boost and global buff. The global buff is overgrowth, which means attack against 30% regeneration buff potency when fighting as Groot or King Groot, and triggering a regeneration effect will place a poison debuff of comparable strength and double duration on the defender. Now this is great, especially for an awakened version of King Groot. My options available are the 6-star version, and the 6-star version is pretty good, but doesn't regen because it's not awakened. This is the point that it's quite positive to say that I can build up to an L3 which regens, and at the same time that's putting a poison on. Or I can choose the other method, which is to use my awakened version. The awakened version I bloody love. Like I've got him to 99, and Yielding Might does put a huge amount of regen on. And it is good because it is regular. However, though, the block proficiency, just general strength and kind of armor of the 4-star version doesn't really cut the mustard for this event, but I did have amazing results. Especially first off to begin with, that when I used King Groot, it took me well over 100 hits in order to take down Vulture. But with the 4-star version, different ball game. 70 hits, I know you said 40 then, that would be even better, but 70 hits in order to take down the enemy. So I was like, this is pretty cool. Tapping into that poison vulnerability, tapping into putting in the L2, tapping into the fact that, well, you get regen, you're going to put a poison effect on the enemy, so that poison vulnerability is very effective. King Groot is amazing for the end boss, and just in general, shrugging off debuff effects, it's amazing. Poison vulnerability on the enemy is still pretty good. You can choose to armor break a lot of champions if you want, but I'm a big fan of keeping those fury buffs on, and then if it's going to be a fight that's not going to take very long, especially about 70 to 100 hits, I'm more than likely pushing to do damage output for poison vulnerability. But when it comes to lanes that maybe don't have that, it may be best then to opt for doing the armor break and taking it from there. Also, don't forget to choose champions that have poison immunity, especially going against the bottom lane. It is pretty straightforward here with most of the stuff you go up against. Plagued Mind, that's not going to be too much of a bother, especially if you're considering using an awakened version of King Groot or an awakened version of a certain other champion. But also, it's not just about King Groot. You could use standard Groot. You can use champions, well, I would say use champions that are poison immune when it comes to this bottom lane here, because that will cause you a real pain in the butt. Something I need to utilize and work on a bit more is Runaway Express. Now, this is something that I kind of don't think about too much, but I need to consider it when I'm doing the 100%. Runaway Express can really have benefits for improving the way that you build up champions to special attacks. And if you find that it's easier to evade an L1 from a champion, likewise, same with Yellow Jacket, evading for me is easier on the SP2 than it is the SP1. Every time I create enough distance or think I've created enough distance, he always seems to clip me, which is really frustrating. Either way, that's a point for me to learn a bit better on what works. So if you're an XL champion and every 10 hits, you're able to get an unblockable hit. So if you're looking to then build a champion up to that special attack to then easily evade it before you go back in again, maybe the enemy's being a bit aggressive, then you have that option. So that's really, really positive and something you should always consider. My final thoughts on King Groot is that he's an absolute savage for this particular mission of this particular chapter of this particular variant. I'm really excited about this, and I really wish that Kabam maybe would consider just a little bit of damage output increase for the guy, as yeah, a lot of people do say that they like him, they like the concept of him, but they don't like the fact that he doesn't damage output quite so much. And like I said, it's my personal hope that in the future Kabam could at least kind of scale up a little bit, and even looking at stuff that's happened with variant 2, at least with other and future variants, if they can do that for a lot of other champions, then I'm pretty excited by that. It does mean their use in other content is an actual positive. And maybe it could be something in the future they look at in other content, but in other cases, in other ways, I'm fine with it. But it's up to you how you feel about this character. Do you have King Groot? What do you think? Put it in the comment section below. In any case, I've been RichTheMan. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button and subscribe for more Marvel Contest of Champions based content. And I'll leave you with my King Groot over and out.